You're listening.
My yard.
Wait.
All of you.
Daddy, chill.
What the hell is even that?
You're listening to Fishing the DMV with your hosts, Thomas Ahrens and Jared Mounts. Fishing the DMV is brought to you by Jake's Bait and Tackle, located in Winchester, Virginia.
If that doesn't get you jacked up, I don't know what will.
Why, hello, everybody. How is everybody doing tonight? I feel like I should be running like a smooth jazz station right now. Welcome to this last minute live where we don't know what we're talking about, but we are drinking some good drinks. I actually got this by a sponsor, which is my wife, which is a jalapeno pineapple tequila. Popping a little drink for everybody. What is everyone doing tonight? Let me know in the comment section down below. So yeah, today's basically live. I got a couple things I was going to cover. This is very last minute, and the biggest reason for that is I'm testing out new software that I got for my computer. I got a buffer sound system that I'm using until I get my brand new sound system. So I just wanted to test all the software tonight and see how it's working. And sadly, if this is live streaming software, the only way you know if it's working is if you freaking live stream. So hopefully I sound pretty good. And we'll kind of get into everything here today, letting a couple more people filter in. But yeah, let me know how the audio quality is right now, because again, this is just a bridge gap until my new stuff comes in the mail, and then we'll really be rocking with some fantastic equipment. So this is it's all good stuff. But all right, so that looks good. Looks really nice. Let's see if the share screen will work too. That'd be kind of cool if the share screen thing will work here. Oh, snap, it does. Sweet. All right, that's good. Well, that's good for everything. What is everybody's plans tomorrow? As I'm doing this more of like a Q&A type of thing while I let this thing upload and reboot in to the system. Did everyone put the kids to bed? Everyone put the wife and the girlfriend to bed so you can actually be with me right now? And actually, if somebody wants to be on the show right now, I will send you a link and you can actually be on the show right now with me live. Just let me know about that. Also, huge shout out to Creek Fishing Adventure. Creek Fishing Adventure is actually going to start. Oh, Travis, how did you not know? Travis, I want you to tell me right now. How did you know what my screen was about? How did you know what I was going to talk about tonight? Oh my gosh, dude, you are psychic, sir. I am very impressed with that right now. Yeah, we're going to be talking about the open stuff. We're going to talk about the St. Lawrence River a little bit. That sounds pretty good. I think I sound pretty good, but I also have headphones on too. Yeah, I know this was kind of planned out, but I did get to go fishing today, which is pretty cool. I'm scouting out a new place, so I'm doing a new hidden gems. If you guys haven't known, I didn't make it aware. I'm actually starting to post on social media tomorrow. Me fishing the DMV and Jake's Bait and Tackle. We're going to ICAST this year. ICAST in Orlando, Florida. I think we're leaving Tuesday morning, if I'm not mistaken. So we are going to be getting live content of everything that's happening there, as long as shooting videos too. So it's going to be a lot of fun. If you're going to be seeing a bunch of polls on my YouTube channel, Facebook, Jake's Bait and Tackles, social media handles. Let us know what you want to see, and we'll try to live stream it at the ICAST booths that are available. And there's going to be a lot of vendors there, so it'll be pretty cool. The biggest thing I'm trying to do is tailor it to our area. They always have, the best baits, the best categories. And usually it's like a duck or I don't know, like some tarpon looking thing, but it's never like, oh, this will actually work on the Shenandoah River. This will actually work on Occoquan Reservoir. That's usually doesn't want to wins. And so when I'm going down there, it's not looking at the best in class, unless it's something you guys want to see. What I want to do is I want to get in there and say like, oh, this will work where we're at. So if there's stuff in particular you want to see at ICAST, let us know, and we'll make sure that we live stream it, but we'll also be shooting extra video content as well. So that's why getting all the equipment together, beta testing, all that stuff, the last 2 weeks has really been taking up my mind right now. So I haven't been able to actually get out in the water as much and shoot content, but we do have a hidden gems coming up. It'll be hopefully done the next couple of weeks. We're doing Franklin Park in Purcellville, Virginia, which I was scouting out, try to look at that, see if how it's going to work. I got a creek fishing one. That's just basically, it's not going to be a hidden gems episode, but I got a creek that I'm going to go to. I'm going to shoot a video there, and then Teedham Creek. And Teedham Creek will be launched. I'm hopefully going to have that shot and done by September-ish sometime. I'm really hoping. And that's going to be a hidden gems episode as well. So that's kind of where we're at with the fishing stuff. And I really, really wish I could actually get out and fish more, but life happens. Chris Sherwood, having a bourbon and bringing up to fish aquatic. Dude. Okay. So Chris, I don't. I'll spoil it for you guys because this one is probably not going to go up. Just letting you guys know, this live is not going to be like a podcast or a re-upload because I'm testing out software for this whole thing. All this is just testing out the software. Going to be talking to you guys. So whatever questions you ask, feel very gracious because will not be re-uploaded again for anybody else. But we do have a special guest that we already recorded the episode for. Let me try to get his name up here. And it's all about Occoquan Reservoir, or AKA the Res, AKA one of the best fisheries there is around. Matt McCluskey. So we already recorded with Matt McCluskey. He's going to come on the show. He was on the show. His episode's going to drop in another week or two. And it's all about the Res, and he gives up the juice, the goodies, the greats about that place. So that's going to be a lot of fun. So, Chris, just seeing you talk about the Res, that really opened that up for me. How do I sound, by the way? I'm using a new software. Does it sound okay? I don't know. It's more of like it's a software versus a hardware update that I'm doing to try to make the microphone sound a little better so it doesn't pitch so high. And then I also have the Rodecaster Pro 2 coming in the mail, which would be great because I can have a soundboard and sound effects. And we have a couple other features. Scott, how you doing, sir? Shouting out from the Facebook side of things. That looks good. Sweet. So yeah, we'll kind of get into things tonight. Missing the Bite podcast with McCluskey and the boys. Yeah, I got to talk to McCluskey about that, and it's really interesting. I'm not putting words in his mouth, but just really interesting that they started a podcast. It didn't work out. Difference of opinions, I guess, too. It's sad that, their thing fell apart. And, hopefully we can do our best here to kind of I guess, fill that hole, which is the whole reason about this too, is to try to fill that hole and just be regional, which is so funny. Like so many people, when they do these things, they're trying to always be national. And you don't really need to be national at all. Just suit the community that you're in and you'll be fine and healthy. Travis, Howard, great as always. Might just be my preference, but you and your guests tend to be quiet during your interviews at Jake's and Tackle, just my opinion. Yeah. So, Travis, really good point there. I'm going to start cranking that up. That's why we're getting the new software. And I'm trying this new software out is specifically for that point. I want to crank it up because of how we have that podcast, because it's not a podcast booth, it's just out in the open like that. And all of our guests and the personalities that are there have different voices. Jared's voice is very booming and deep. He should have been in radio. My voice is actually a lot more quieter. And then you have our guests, and then you have people that are there in the studio with us that are just shopping. And when you're using these microphones, these are SUB7s, and these are like the number one microphones you can buy. They can literally pick up your heartbeat. They're very sensitive. And so when this goes through into the system, it wants to pick up everything, but it also gives it a very crisp, smooth sound. Well, when I'm next to Jared, his voice really takes over my mic. And so I have to constantly adjust everything in post editing to make it sound good. The same thing with our guests. If our guest sits too close to Jared, for example, it'll wash it out and it doesn't sound really crisp and it's not up to my standards. So that's you're 100% right. There's a difference there when we're in studio versus out of studio, but hopefully this new update will actually help it a little bit. I can make it a little bit louder because I want to make it a little bit louder too. And it also depends on when you edit it too, just for if you want some behind the scenes stuff. If you edit with headphones on, you tend to set the volume lower. And so if I really wanted to go full out, what I would do is I would edit the video once and then listen to it on a phone and listen to it on a computer and then listen to it in the car, because all three, it'll sound different depending on how you set the volume in post-production. So it's a lot. So I'll do the best I can to adjust it, but I really think with the new software and hardware updates, that'll help a lot. But yeah, thank you for that. I really appreciate that. Shane, how you doing, bud? Yeah, how goes it? And Shane, you and Marty, I'm really looking forward to coming down your way in August to shoot some video footage and also to do a little challenge. I miss you guys. And I like the podcast setup you guys run. I was at the shop when Brian Schmidt was there on the other day. Yeah, we were trying to get we're trying to get him on the show, but he's really busy right now. But he is on the to-do list along with Mr. Cruz too. Yes, looking forward to it. Yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun. And also, guys, like really make sure Mr. Shane Flint, he has a YouTube channel. Go check it out, like and subscribe to it. He really keeps you up to date on the happenings around the Fredericksburg area, the Richmond area of fishing. Also, he has a lot of fishing challenges, like tournaments that he actually runs. It's really, really cool. Please go check that out. But people are done with me talking. Let me check with my wife. How's that sound? Perfect. So yeah, new things to the channel. For you guys that aren't aware, we're going to ICAST this year. We're leaving on Tuesday. If there's something that you want me to in particular like show you or really bring to light, let me know and I'll bring that to you. And besides that, yeah. And the other thing that we have is let's see, perfect. All right, sweet. So we're gonna try this now. Let's bring this up here. So the first thing I want to talk about. Bassmasters changing qualifying for the Elite Series through the Opens in 2023. So I was doing a kayak interview the other day with a really he's gonna be it's gonna be a really good interview. You guys are gonna love it. I learned a lot from him talking about saltwater because I really want this channel to be everything. Because based on my backdrop, it is anything in this area that is the greater DMV area. I want to cover it, whether it's carp fishing, whether it's snakehead fishing, whatever. But this really struck to me, and I've been talking to a couple of people in my inner circle about this because bass fishing, college bass fishing is my core because that's what got me into it. Really, what was this? What if you guys don't know? They've changed the rules up to where you have to basically fish all 9 events. Try to zoom in and make this a little bit bigger for you guys. You have to fish all the 9 events to actually qualify for the Elite Series. I think I'm long enough into this that it doesn't. Well, I'm not re-upping it, so it doesn't matter. I do not consider at this point in my life, and stop me if I'm wrong here, I do not consider bass fishing actually a sport. And there's a reason for that. A sport, in my opinion, is based purely on your athletic ability on the field of play. And that's what matters. And your ability to move up the ranks is 100% based on your ability to move up the ranks. Bass fishing is getting to the point where it's not a sport in that sense. It comes down to how much money you have. Now, there are exceptions to this. I think 10% of the anglers out there, the 10% of the fields, 100%, you have the Brandon Pollinix out there. But for most of us, it does come down to your pocketbook. If I gave anybody just a limitless credit card that you never had to pay off, and I gave it to you, eventually you would make the Elite Series because it's about how much money you can throw at this meat grinder until you make it onto the Elite Series. And then once you make it to the Elite Series, if you can stay there and get your reps, you will get good. You know, learning how to fish those big tournaments, the only way you can learn it is to constantly do it. Period. In a story, you have to constantly fish those. You have to constantly fish those type of tournaments. That way you understand the fish behavior, how fish react, how fish set up in those 4-day style events. And so if you get to be on the circuit for 6, 7, 8, 9 years, yeah, you have a distinct advantage. But I'm just talking about just the people that are actually like moving up into it. This new rule where you have to actually fish all the events, I get what they're trying to do, but I think I get what they're trying to do. They're trying to make the best angler possible. However, the cynical person in me is also saying like they're doing this because they want to milk as much money as humanly possible from it. Because if you say you have to fish all 9 events, you have to make it. I can see one side of the thing. They're like, well, you're penalizing people that want to fish all 9 if you don't give them spots. But on the same token, what if the only reason you're fishing all 3 is that's because of all you can afford? Now, part of me is saying, then the other part of me is saying, you're correct in that assumption that maybe if I can't afford to fish all of them, I shouldn't even try for the Elite Series. Okay, I can see that viewpoint. But the other side of me is like, but if I can make it there and make it to the Elite Series, I can then ask for sponsors that could hopefully help me pay the way. No matter what viewpoint you have or whatever your argument is in this, from a business standpoint, from what this will do to the sport, is the fact is this basically says, if you want to join this, you need to be able to drop, a quarter of $100,000 per year easily to attempt this. And that's what'll happen. And so what you're doing is you're more and more catering to the 1% of the population. Right now, on average, everybody that's in an open field or in a Toyota series has at least 3 graphs and a live scope or live or forward facing sonar set up on their boat. That right there gets it to the point where you're looking at, with a brand new boat, $60,000 to $80,000 wrapped up in your rig too. You're making this an elite sport. And my background is, I was actually an equestrian when I got my my shoulder surgeries and stuff. I had 3 reconstructive shoulder surgeries, and I had surgery on my back. I had to stop playing baseball. I actually went into horses. I got to ride with Team USA. Went to Australia. Lived in Australia for a couple of months. That is an extremely rich sport where it's not always about the horse you ride. It's about the money that's backing you. It's about the horse that you get on. It's the trainer. It's all of it. It's about money. It's 100% about money. And I can argue that with anyone in here that's about equestrian. And so I'm saying this from a point of reference based on my past where, yeah, this is slowly becoming a sport. I don't know if they're purposely doing this or this is the way it's going, where it's all about the pocketbook you have. And I think it's scary because you look at college tournaments too, and the way they formulate the college tournaments is, let's have as many boats as possible. Let's have as many boats as possible. It's about generating as much revenue without thinking about the ramifications for what they're doing. I'm going to take a minute here and breathe before I just go out more on a tangent. And shout out to people. Hopefully you guys are all drinking something really good tonight. Me, it's tequila. JL, if you're interested, would you want to come on this live stream right now? The problem with the elites is inconsistency on how anglers gain entry or stay within the series. You can remain in the series once in without performing, keeping one in the series. And got Ashley. It literally put over $20,000 in debt to fish all 9 events, all expenses included. I think it's a little bit more. I think you're being very, very considerate. I think it's way more, especially with Putin's price hike or Biden's price hike, or wherever part of the demographic you fall on. It's expensive. Not to mention the elites have to have a new boat every season, and they have to sell it too. That's a big thing. Not only do they have to have that boat deal, they also have to get rid of that other boat, or they're really in trouble too. So that's something to actually think about with that. The new rule for the elites is obviously ridiculous. Skill used to pave your way. Now it's almost irrelevant. Yeah, and this is so. Yeah, and these are the issues I have. And one other issue, I don't know if you listened to the Jarrett Martin episode. He's a really good angler. I competed against him in college a lot. You have a structure system in place right now. High schoolers compete against high schoolers. College anglers compete against college anglers. And then you have the void. You can be Kevin Van Dam, and if you want to fish a BFL at your local lake, you can. I think that's wrong. I think when I try to start fishing BFLs when I got out of college and I saved up for it, and you have Brian Schmidt there and all these other guys, there's an issue there where it's all about catering to the 1%, guys that do not care about the $300, guys that have the pedigree. There has to be a better system in place even with that, where there's got to be another feeder system set in where it's guys that aren't professionals fishing, because the guys that need that paycheck starting out are the ones that you want to groom and get through the system. And again, the argument will be made like, well, eventually you have to face them. Like, I agree with that, but you still need an extra system. If that was true, then why not have pros be allowed to fish in college so they can have scholarship money for their kids growing up? You could go there. Like, at some point, it's got to be where like there's an extra step in there for younger anglers to be able to fish, and they're not fishing against seasoned guys with deep pocketbooks. And I've even seen it where like a rookie guy gets like a 5th place, and the guys above him are all seasoned pros. And it's like, wow, well, if they weren't in there, all of a sudden that paycheck would have helped him out a lot. And that's something else that I think they really need, but they won't do that, of course. And I think the other thing that people aren't talking about right now is the fact that there is a how do I put it simply? We got a recession coming, boys. If we're not in it already, which I think we are, we got a recession coming up, and that's going to really hurt a lot of people, not the 1%ers, and this is not knocking them at all. They've earned everything they have. They have a good sponsor portfolio, but who's not going to be hurting is Gerald Swindle, Brandon Polinick, Jacob Wheeler, fill in the blanks. They're going to be fine. But everyone trying to make it in the sport, they're done. They're going to be really, really hurting here soon. Let me start talking to some other buddy. And then, let's see. Oh, right. And to my lovely wife that's listening, could you please check out the super chat function just to see if it's working? Because that's the other software piece that I need to check. Just check out the super chat thing just to see if that system's working too. We can get that dialed in. Let's see. I got that one done. I'd literally put, come on, Tom. Let's find a new one. There it is. Ashley, they care more about an angler's ability to create content and push their company's products. People like Brian knew they struggle, have created absolutely best. Yeah, and that's the thing too. And remember his tourney on the St. John's, his jersey was blank, and then when he won, now he's covering sponsors. Yeah. And what are your thoughts about that? Like, Ashley brings up a damn good point. Like, Brian New started this. Another one is God help me, guys, Steve Kennedy. Steve Kennedy is a great example of that. I mean, he's self-made, and part of it is he kept winning tournaments and stuff like that. But it comes down to having deep pocketbooks, and that really, God, I don't know about that. It's just not skill level. Like, think about a football player. A football player, a truly great lineman or a great quarterback in high school, does not have to pay $100,000 to play in college. In the sense of, I get it for his tuition, but he doesn't get a bill to have to play every year. He gets recruited. He gets set in the system. He doesn't have to pay $100,000 per year to be in the NFL. Talent rises to the top. And that's an issue right now in bass fishing. And I think because the payouts are not going to change the way they are right now, that it's going to be all about being sponsored and being on teams, almost like NASCAR. I had a great conversation about this with Scott Fishing. I think he's in the chat right now. I'm not going to mention anything we said without his permission or whatever. But yeah, so we talked about that stuff. And it's like, yeah, this is something that we got to that has to be approached. Ashley, you make a good point about YouTubers. You make a great point about content creators. I don't know. What are your guys' opinions actually on content creators? I have my own, I guess, because technically I am one now. It's crazy. It's the way the world is. It's like the evolution of it, being a content creator. And it's very important because it's our social media age. And this doesn't have to do with just fishing. So let's just take a bigger view of this thing for a quick second here, for a hot take. And let me piece my thoughts together here real quick. It's not just fishing that's affected by the adjustment of social media. Every walk of life has been affected by it. And so I cannot corner fishing on the fact that you have to put out content. Most professional athletes, we usually hear them for the negative part of it, but there's also a positive side of using social media and Twitter and stuff. And it's very, very important. So you're right. There are certain athletes that they don't have to put out any social media stuff. But if you really want to get ahead, you have to be smart in how you use social media. I don't care what that has to do with, whether you're a basketball player, a hockey player, or a fisherman. So I do like the idea of YouTube. And I'll add to it more. Fishhawk, Creek Fishing Adventures, two really, really cool dudes that came on the show. I'm just going to name them as an example. They are professional fishermen. They're not professional tournament fishermen, but they survive by having to go out there and catch them and make good content. And they do it all themselves. So I do think that it's very important to accept and respect the fact that YouTubers, no matter what you think of their content, they are important to the industry now. They're just a fact of it. JL Scott. Opens also do not pay deep enough. And well, the problem with the opens, so problem with the opens is it's all about the classic. It's all about the Bassmaster Elite Series. And the thing with the opens, this is again with an issue like Ike and Ellie and people like that. When they started complaining, I think it was like the first time they went to Lake Oahe in Dakota, I think it is. I don't know what year that was. But they were complaining about it then. The payouts in bass is just not very good. And I remember when I was going up through the ranks when if you you can look over there when it was called FLW. Um Hold on. Sorry, this is a good question. Shane, does being a fishing content creator make you a professional fisherman? If you're primary, and that's what is let's go deep on this, Shane. What does it mean to be professional? If you only get paid to be a plumber, does that make you a professional plumber? If you are a stockbroker, are you a professional stockbroker? Like, if the sense of that is what your job is, that should make you professional. If you're a content creator on the side or as a hobby, yeah, but if you are doing that and that's how you pay your mortgage, that should make you a professional fisherman or a professional angler. I mean, I think that's the difference. Now, a professional tournament angler is different. I think that's like, I mean, we can always manipulate the English language. Don't get me wrong there. But I think it really does, like, what is the definition of being a professional? Like, again, I think Ashley said it really great in the chat right here. John, Creek Fishing Adventures, he's got insane data, like insane. I'm going to pull that up real quick just to kind of show you guys what he's doing right now on his channel. But no, he's putting out insane numbers. And he makes a living as a content creator fishing, and he works his butt off. I mean, absolutely works his little butt off. Let me try to move this over here real quick. Let me see. I'm going to share my screen real quick. Here we go. Power of analytics, baby. So let me get this right here. Let me pull the stats real quick. So for the last month, John has had 800,000 views on his channel, and he's gained 2,000 subscribers. But look at this. He's published 14 videos. 14 videos in a month. He is getting the same numbers as some massive channels, like massive channels. You know why? Because he works his ass off. John works his butt off. He films, shoots, edits, and then does it all over again. He doesn't just put out once a month, once a week. He works his butt off and puts out good content. He's a professional because he pays his bills doing that. And I think the more I do this and you realize how much work there is involved in it, it's like, yeah, this is, and they have to catch them too. Regardless if it's an edit to do it, if they never catch a fish, it doesn't count. Like, no one's going to watch that. So, I mean, it's just something to kind of keep in mind with that. Technically, I guess a professional means making a living, then yes. And that's the thing. Actually, you're right. Like, what is the definition of professional? That's what we got to get at. I think a professional tournament angler, 100%, yeah. But I think a professional angler in the industry, yeah, that we got to separate that out too. But I think that's really important to kind of like what our definitions there, because like content creating is where it is. Like, you can get more views, you can get more, like I can have more reach sitting here right now and fishing twice a week and then doing videos and podcasting. I can get more views for a brand than a professional angler can. Than 80% of the professional anglers out there. I can have greater reach than 80% of the anglers out there. And I can fish once or twice a week. That's it. And I can have more reach. And that's just the way of the world. And that's something you just have to understand. Great conversation, much needed, just like true definition of product staff. Like, yeah, like 100%. Like, and guys, like the reason I also know this is like I went to school for this, for my MBA. I fell in love with YouTube and social media. I wrote 2 papers. One of them was like 50 pages long on ethics for YouTube. So I really do this stuff. I just love in the digital marketing side of it. And the fact is, I tried to go pro as an angler. Like, and what people don't understand is like Shenandoah University, that bass club, I built that thing all by myself. I threw all the money I had in it from one of my businesses when I was in high school. I've owned 3 different businesses. I threw all that money at it. I did everything myself with that company. I grew it. And I took that money and I tried to go pro right after college. And then after the first year, I kind of realized something. Oh, this is stupid. It does not make financial sense. And I stopped. And it wasn't, could I have thrown more money at it? Yeah, I could have, but I was looking for a better way to do it, a way I could be involved in the industry and I could still have that love. And if you go out there and you have to shoot a video, guess what? It's intense. Like it really is, because you still have to catch them. I get it. Like it's not the same thing as a tournament day, but you're thinking about camera angle, you're thinking about the glare, you're thinking about, well, I got to catch these fish since it's going to look good on the camera. Is my audio good? Like, I mean, it's a lot, but it's still fun. It's addicting, and you still get to scratch that itch. CJL, pro staff, promo staff. Yeah. That's the thing too. And I still think like pro staff and promo staff, like that stuff, like your ability to make money off that is going to go eventually too, because you're going to start catering to more of the 1%. And that's things like YouTube, like 4 or 5 years ago, if you got in then you were hot. And I think like I got in this big, and I wish I could put a poll out. I can't put a poll out right now. Do you guys think long form content, short form content, or YouTube shorts? What do you think is more important? So I got some analytics from YouTube about this. What was Scott Beach too, actually? So numbers of fish and the amount of big fish are factors in being professional. Numbers of fish and the amount of big fish are factors in being professional. Do tell, Shane. I like where your head's at. Like, elaborate more. Like, what do you mean by numbers of fish and the amount of big fish? So, are you saying regardless? Are you saying regardless of whether you are a pro angler or a pro content creator, it's the amount of fish and big fish you catch? Because that's interesting too. Here's a great example. Have you guys ever seen River Monsters? Jeremy Wade. Dude was an English teacher, and he was one of the first people, and I believe he's in the, Google this for me, but he's in the book of world records because he was the first one to go to India, and he spent, I think it was like 3 or 4 weeks there, and he caught a catfish that people thought was extinct. And he's in raggedy clothes and stuff, and they did finally bring the film crew. And I get there's a little bit of film magic, but he has fished all over the world. The guy, Larry Dahlberg, who created the Whopper Plopper, fished all over the world, never fished a tournament before. Is he a professional angler? I mean, he didn't fish tournaments. Like again, like, and this is what I'm saying, like, this is really, really important, like, I think, to really get that definition down, because there are some great anglers. The Linders, I mean, they did fish tournaments. That's a bad example, but they really stopped and just did TV. The Linders created like the Bible on fishing. Matt Allen, tactical bassing, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. To Matt Allen, we pray every night when we go to bed. Like, that's very, very important. Like, Matt Allen, I listen to him when he talks. Let's see what we got here. Short-term content or shorts, not long. People don't have the time to watch love vids. There are factors if you're a tourney fisherman. Videos, but short, are great content fillers, but content for content providers. Shorts, we more response success to TikTok. Yeah, that's the thing too. It's so funny. It's and this is an issue I had too. So when I talk to YouTube, I think it's so funny. Like, everyone in corporate chases something, chases a fad. And I thought this was so funny. And this was one of the papers actually. And I think Jillian and I talked about this over text. It's terrible. I hate texting. I think human interaction is so much better because it's just so much easier to have a conversation about this stuff. But TikTok came onto the scene and it messed everybody up because everyone tried to be TikTok. And that is the dumbest thing ever. Like, Chick-fil-A is Chick-fil-A. If everybody starts switching to burgers, Chick-fil-A is not going to be like, oh shit, you know what? We got to start selling cheeseburgers because that's the fad. No, they're like, we sell chicken. This is what we do. This is our DNA. And what's so fun, I think, from my brain standpoint, is watching all these platforms being like, we have to be TikTok. And a classic example of this is Instagram, where, if you're not familiar with this, Instagram is promoting videos more than pictures. When Instagram, literally, the whole thing of it is pictures for the most part. That's how they were all set up. And so now Instagram's like, oh, we want to do more videos. And Instagram within itself is dying, plus of all the bot issues, but it's dying. And Instagram's like, well, we don't know what's going on. It's like, well, you're trying to be TikTok, but TikTok already exists. So why the hell are you doing that? Be Instagram. Facebook is in this limbo of what is Facebook, and it tries to hop on these trends like, should we be YouTube? Should we be TikTok? Don't be TikTok at all. Be yourself. And then YouTube is kind of the same thing. YouTube is the number 2 platform in the whole world, period, end of story, and is owned by the number 1 platform in the whole world, which is Google. And YouTube will be around for a very, very, very long time. It is the greatest search tool. It's the greatest creator of knowledge in the history of forever. And I 100% believe that. All of us use YouTube, period, end of story. Everyone does. Not everyone uses TikTok. And I have the numbers and the data to back it up because I had to write up my paper to graduate from my MBA program on that. TikTok has a very specific niche of people that it goes after 100%. And it's good at that. I'm not saying that, but everyone uses YouTube for either how to or whatever. And so I think where I'm going with it with this rant is TikTok is hot now. And I think what'll happen in a couple of years, even though there's something else might come out, everyone will level out. Everyone will just, YouTube will be YouTube. Facebook should be Facebook, hopefully. And then TikTok will still be itself if we're still allowed to use it. Because there's still talk about that being kicked off of a lot of platforms and the data mining and stuff. But I still think people are still going to like digest it and stuff. There's nothing you, yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing is like, so, and when I got with the shorts and stuff is, I had a kid yesterday who talked to me about, he's trying to start a channel. And I was like, okay, cool. What are you doing? He's like, well, all I'm doing is shorts. And so I said, shorts are very good. And it has a niche that'll build on. The problem with shorts is your ability to grow as a content creator when it comes to the back end of it. Now, hear me out. Anybody in this platform can make a 7-second video that tracks 100%. Anyone can. Can you make a video that's 30 minutes long and have good retention? Can you make a video that's 12 minutes long, 30, 40? Can you? Can you tell a story? Can you edit? Can you sit in front of a mic like I'm doing right now? You can't. And so I feel like content creators, the ones I've talked to and tried to help out, they get in this trap of only doing shorts because it is easier to make and you don't grow those skill sets. I can sit here in front of a mic for 8 hours straight and talk. I can create content that's 20, 30 minutes long. I know how to tell a story. I know how to build a story. I know how to edit and create a script and do that. The only way you do that is the reps. And depending on the algorithm that you're dealing with, like YouTube wants time on the channel. You know, I have a 30%, 40% retention rate on a 3-hour podcast video. And that's the reason this channel is exploding, is because people are staying on YouTube and people are keeping that track focus. And so what I would tell, like I told this individual, is like, do your shorts, but you need to practice and learn the skills of filmmaking to keep people's attention for 8, 9, 10-minute video. It's just a good tool to have. And I feel like if you only do 7-minute shorts, 7-minute clips, you're not going to be able to grow and be able to sit in front of a camera and talk. Let's see what we got here. We got Shane Flint. What is quality fishing content? A lot of fish or one big one? Or, oh, okay, I see what you're saying. I'm sorry, sir. Or is it the overall quality of the video, music editing coupled with catches? That's a very good question, sir. Shane, I think it's overall quality coupled with catches. I also enjoy when they put their fails in. Yeah, I like that vibe of raw too. I really do. Sorry, I'm a purist. Watching someone kayak fish for 20 minutes with nothing more than watching fish is not value content. People want to be shown or learn something from a video, in my opinion. Yes and no. Oh God, I'm gonna get in so much trouble for this. Hold on, more tequila. It's all person bias. It is. What's your DNA? Like, I mean, this is like, I'm not bullshitting. I have watched and studied so many content creators, all of them. You have different niches. You have entertainment, you have education, blah, 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 blah. You got to find your niche. I can, for every person, and I'll take both sides of this. For Shane, let's just say it's about like, I mean, I'm just using an example. I'm not saying, Shane, this is what you're saying. Don't get this out of context. But let's say Shane is like saying, I want education in my content. I want it short and sweet with really good music. There's 100,000 people that want to watch that. Ashley wants somebody that's like, I want to listen to a guy talk about how grass grows for an hour. There's probably 100,000 people who watch that. You know, JL is like, well, I want something that's like, again, like 30 seconds long. There's 100,000 people who want to watch that. And there's somebody else. It's like, I just want to watch a guy fish raw. Somebody's going to watch that too. Like, and that's the thing. How do I know that? Because they're all successful. And it's like JL says, like, okay, well, like, what about, 20 minutes? I watched Bass Live today, the mix stream, where no one was talking except the angler every now and then was talking. And I was watching him because of the anticipation of him maybe catching something. And I wasn't the only one. And so again, I guess, like, I guess what I'm saying is, like, whatever you want to do, it'll work. And then you'll find that audience for you. Like, there's a great example of this is like POV or wearing a chesty when you fish. There's a lot of people that like that purist thing. A great example of this is Creek Fishing Adventure or Fish Hawk. They all have 100,000 subs. It's that really grainy, that down to earth vibe with their filmmaking style. Even though they have 100,000 subs, they never adjusted it because it works for them and their audience likes that and it likes their personality. If that's you, do that, because then you're going to want to do that more, and it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Then you get into, like, and this is a great example here. Let me show that more. Oh, sorry, here. There's a good one. Guggen versus tactical bassing, for example. Yeah, tactical bassing, observation, not saying it's fact. Tactical bassing is basically having two teachers just talk to you about stuff. And it's 100%, I think, more education there. Guggen is 100% more entertainment. I was watching this really cool thing called Fishing on the B-Side, which is a really weird, like, it's a fishing show / documentary where they go out there and they fish for species that are just unusual. They did snakeheads, they did all that stuff. It's part of the Meat Eater program, which is really cool. You check it out. I think they've been on Joe Rogan's show too. That's very well done. A lot of money was thrown into editing and stuff. A very quick, short, sweet, very entertaining, very educational, high production value. But I'll watch that. But I'll also, every time Matt Allen's going to talk about swim baits for an hour, I'm probably going to watch that while I'm taking a dump or while I'm driving in the car. So, both will work. But then both are very successful too, is what I'm saying. Tell people where you are, what you set up, why you throw, what you're throwing. No, dude, I 100%, like, that's what I prefer. Like, so if people go fishing somewhere and they stick a bunch of 10 pounders, I don't like that content. I personally don't like that content as much. However, I'm also not stupid that, like, there are people that clearly there's a bunch of people that like that. Like, if you look at some of the YouTubers out there, there's like with 1 million subs, clearly there are people that like that, is all I'm saying. The other thing that can help you out on YouTube is, like, so example is one of my channels, Spirits and Ghost Stories, we're working on next year. We're going to have it in a second language. So just doing that is something you can do. There's also this really cool YouTuber, I think it's Senior Basson. I'll check it for you. But his whole channel's in Spanish. Brilliant. Like you can do different things like that. So the point is, like, I guess my whole roundabout way is, don't get set in there like it all has to be short. It all has to be long. I had everybody tell me that literally when I started this thing, no one said this would work. And it's working great, and it's exploding, doing long form where I'm just doing a podcast. There's this guy called Joe Rogan. It kind of worked for him. There's a market for long form content. There's a market for short term content, and people will put money at it. It's just what you're passionate about, because if you're passionate about it, people know that, they can feel that, and you'll keep doing it. MLF Live is totally different than YouTube video. Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah, all I was saying is basically, like, the anticipation factor. Like, a lot when you mentioned, like, just watching a guy just, like, catch fish or whatever, like, that's what I was thinking when you said 20 minutes, like a long term without what was happening. And I think really it's how you build the tension in it and how you edit it. So you can tell a story with editing, and you can tell a story without words. You know this if you go back. So I've watched a lot of film before I started editing, like Charlie Chaplin, like the old school with just music, no words said. You can tell a story with body language and how you edit and how you frame shots and stuff. So you don't need a lot to happen to tell a really good story if you tell it right, if you do the right approach. If you keep it like a grainy, like POV type of deal, you can have an adventure. We're going to go to a creek. We don't know what's going to happen. Yeah, you can do that. But what is your style? What's your storyboard? And you can milk all that together. I was, sorry, I put this on the board. I was watching it too, the live mix. So there's no commentary. Yeah, like, I was watching that too. It's addicting. And again, like, it's live. I 100% get JL's point. And I might have been a little bit off base with my last comment there. So sorry about that. But yeah, like, the point is there's a market for everything. And so I wasn't trying to say one's worse or one's better. all I'm trying to say is like, if you're passionate about doing TikTok stuff, great, do that, but learn the other thing to have that in your back pocket because it'll help you out, and do what you're passionate about, but put as much stuff in your toolbox as possible. I love watching Christy Fisher. Oh my God. Yeah. So she is somebody I really, really, really want on the show, but I really want to wait until I'm big enough to actually interview her. I've reached out to, I think it was Chad Hoover, Jeff Little, and hopefully I get them on the show. I don't know if that'll happen. I hope so, but I don't know if it's going to happen. So Christine, I'm nervous about, so I really want to wait till I'm big enough that she'll actually come on the show and I can talk to her. Before I started kayak fishing this year for tournament stuff, I watched all of her stuff. She is the shit. She's the real deal. I would like her to like autograph my shirt over there. It's so weird looking at the screen and trying to like get my hands like dyslexic much. I want her to autograph my jersey back there. She is super duper awesome. I would love to watch her like actually make a crack at becoming a pro. I'm sorry. My apologies. Didn't mean to say it like that. She is a pro. I meant like the Bassmaster or something like that. It would be cool. But she is a pro angler. So apologies there. And then to my wife out there, are you going to check the super chat function tonight or not? Please let me know. Oh, you texted me. Let me answer that text message on one of my 50 screens. And yes, my new setup is actually working pretty well. If she was asking, let's see right there. I hate dead air. It's hurting my brain so much. I hate when I have dead air like this. The nice thing about being married is when you can just yell at her from the other room, which is really, really nice. All right, sweet. What was the other thing I was going to talk about too? I had something else I was going to talk about. Oh, yeah, I was going to talk about tournament fishing too. So somebody wanted me to go over a old tournament video. We're going to actually do that in a minute too. Because I think that's going to be fun too. JL, do you want to come on the chat? I can send you a link if you want to get on the show. Let me know. Let me know in the comment section below. JL, Shane, if you want to get on the show, let me know. I'll throw you on the show tonight, no problem. What are you guys drinking tonight? What are you guys doing? What are you guys doing up? You got fishing tomorrow. My goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. It actually worked. Thank you to my lovely wife. It worked. Sweet. Super chat actually works. Yay. I had to do all that paperwork today to get super chat up. Woohoo. We're rich. $1. Fantastic. Thank you, Carly. I appreciate it. Yeah, back to bass fishing. Our tournaments now too many days. I don't like one-day tournaments. I really do like multi-day tournaments to where you can make adjustments. I guess the hypothetical question here is like, what I'm going to exclude one days because I'm going to say, in my personal belief, I don't like one days as much as I like multiple days. However, then it's like, how many days is too many? If 2, 3, 4, I don't know. Like, why 4? What's the difference between 4 and 3? Like, I think 3 maybe is okay. I don't know if you have to have 4. I think the biggest thing is the fact that, and hear me out here, tinfoil hat. There needs to be a body over top of all these anglers that really picks about how much one lake gets beaten up compared to the other. And it comes down to how many boats. You know, if you have, like, example is the James River this year. If you guys are not familiar with it, James River down in Lower Virginia, if you're under a rock, it had the Bassmaster Opens and then it had the crap, what the hell do they call it now? I guess the semi-pro. It's the level. It's the MLF tournament series that's just below, like, I guess the big boys, which is like a 4-day event, $100,000 paycheck. But they had those 2 big tournaments on there. That's a ton of pressure on one place. And then you think about all the other tournaments too. So I don't know about limiting the days. Like, okay, cool. We can say like, well, let's limit it from 3 to 4. But if you're still having a tournament that's 200 to 300 boats every single weekend, that's like example is the Toyota Series that happened on the Potomac River. There was like 3 other tournaments going out that Saturday. Holy shit, that's a lot of pressure. I don't know. Like again, I am not a tackle warehouse. Thank you, sir. I really appreciate it. But yeah, like that's like a ton. Thank you. Thank you, Carly. Stop sending $1 bills. We're done. It works. Cease and desist. But yeah, it's the yeah, like that. It's like I don't know. Again, I'm not against those tournament factors, but again, like let's if you're gonna have all those people come in constantly, it's gonna move the fish around. That's gonna have a fish kill at some point. I just got home from work not long ago, having yeah, amen. I am drinking. Let's see what I'm drinking. I am drinking jalapeno pineapple margarita mix. Jalapeno pineapple margarita mix, and my system sounds good, actually, which is insane. I can't believe the software actually uploaded without a problem. That's actually very shocking to me. Usually that stuff doesn't work so easily. Let me hide that right there. Perfection. Okay, perfect. Alrighty. So what is one of the questions I have here? Thomas, so okay. Here's a question from Facebook comments. So if you think do you think it's all about money then and no talent at all if you want to make it as a pro angler? So would you tell that to high school kids? Okay. Someone was gonna ask this question. So the question is it all about the money and not about the talent? And is that what you would tell high schoolers now? So if I was going to talk to high schoolers about becoming a pro angler, what I'd say is like, get a business degree, purely business, find a career that is flexible with hours and that pays you a decent amount so you can continue your skills as an angler and so you can help fund your own fishing adventure. Oh boy. All right, let me get you on there, bud. Hold on, dude. But yeah, like I 100% believe that. Hold that thought. It's not good when you start drinking tequila and you try to do multiple things. Make sure they make something. Yeah, like let me get that right here. No, actually, I 100% agree. Like they need a fallback. I have so many high schoolers that I've talked to that I'm gonna just basically go for it or not, like or bust. That is scary to me. Like that's really scary to me. You got to have a backup plan. Perfect. That's done there. All right, JL. I'll just send it to you via Facebook. No, I think you have to have a backup plan, 100%. And what I would tell them is like, you have to really go with social media. You have to have deep pockets to do this thing. You just do. There are a couple individuals, I'm not going to name names, that and it's not a bad thing, by the way. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but they financially can back themselves. And that's what you have to do is you have to financially back yourself without asking for a single penny. And that's going to change the way that you actually approach all this stuff. Because you do not want to ever get to the point that your word doesn't matter and people don't trust what you say because you're just simping for products. And what I mean, a classic example of this is he's a great angler. So please do not get me wrong when I say this, but Zaldane had an issue this past couple of years. If you don't know about it, for a very long time, he was all Mega Bass. He was Mega Bass all the time. And he promoted the product like he's supposed to. He's supposed to promote the product. And he did. And then whether it came to contract negotiations, what have you, came to money, he switched from Megabass to 13 and Guggen. And then he's promoting the product. The problem from the outside for a lot of people, if you look at this and, reality is an individual's reality, Megabass is considered a very quality product. And because of that, when he went to Guggen and 13, people feel like it was purely for the money. And when he started to promote the products like this stuff is really good too, it really came across that it's all bullshit. It's like you're just saying it's good because you're getting paid by them. And it's the business side of this thing. if you are so dependent on your sponsors to pay your bills, you lose a little bit of your trust factor. And you see this with guys that have 50 brands on their chest and they point something out and they say, like, oh, this is the greatest bait ever. And then 3 days later, they're with a new brand. They're like, well, this is the greatest bait ever. And you lose that trust. You lose your ability to be able to sell, but you also lose that ability to communicate with your audience. If you flip that over to like Tactical Bass and Matt Allen, I don't know what you guys think about Tactical Bass. And I'm not saying they're perfect or whatever, but for when I was younger, I really believed them because they didn't have a lot of sponsors. And they said, like, I like this bait company. Okay, cool. But they always try different products out. Their product reviewer, they just buy a bunch of shit and fish it. And they say, like, hey, I like this one. I don't know. There's just something honest about that I really appreciate. And because of that, people watch their channel, people buy their stuff. And based on the industry, if you're just going in this as a fisherman, like, oh, I just need sponsors. I need to be on some kind of pro staff. You're no different than everyone else in that sense, that you're just there simping for products. And that's what it comes across as to a lot of people. You don't have that honesty. You don't have that trust built up. Yeah. Zaldane is not as good as his promotion shows he is. He's really good with swim baits. You know, like the year Paul Mueller won at Lake Lanier. It was the year Carl Jochimson won at 10 Killer, I believe it was. I don't know how the hell I keep knowing this stuff. I'm like Rain Man. I don't know. I don't know where this information's coming from. But he was really good that year. And he said he just kept the tiny swim bait, the big swim bait, and the drop shot in his hand. And he fished like a West Coast angler. He found his DNA. He can be a really good angler. He is just married to that big bite, like Carl was. Carl Jochimson's the same way. Carl Jochimson, like 100%, he is married to that big bite. And it's almost like a home run hitter. He swings and misses for the fence all the time. And you're going to live and die by that. On the same token, if it wasn't for Zaldane, I don't know if the mag draft would be as big as it is, because he literally brought the mag draft to light. He really did. So that's just something to keep in mind there too. But I'm not trying to poop on any angler or whatever. But that's just something I kind of saw too with that. Let's see. What was the other thing we're talking about? Oh no. It went away. What happened to that? There it is. Cool. Swim baits have their time and place, but not all the time. He goes for broke. Yeah, Ashley, he does. 100% he does. And I think that's yeah. But he's a West Coaster. Like, that's his DNA is to do that. And when he was doing it, no one else was doing it. That's the other thing too. It's like when the Whopper Plopper really became big. And there's a couple of guys that's like shot off like a rocket. Watson won at Table Rock, I think it was, in the fall, like 2 fall tournaments there used to be. FLW had some kind of invitational too back when. I'd have to check on the computer, but that he won with the Whopper Plopper when it first came out, and no one heard of it. And so a lot of times guys get on a good bite, and Steve Kennedy was big in that too, where he was on the swim baits first, and he's on the Bastrix, I believe it was. And then he'd go to not St. Clair, Clear Lake in California, Amistad, all those places. He went to all those places, and he just absolutely wrecked him doing that stuff. And yeah, guess what? He did well, and then he kind of like fell off the table a little bit. And that really shows you, like, some guys just hop on a bait early and they'll have some success, but then it's like, do they stay there still? Another example of this flip on the flip side, at least I heard this from an interview. I could be wrong. Thrift was one of the first people on the chatterbait. He was, like, apparently, if you watched Bass Talk Live did this documentary called The $1 Million Idea, talk about the chatterbait and how like he was one of the first to actually get a sample of it, and he won a lot of money on it, blah, blah, blah. He did good, and then that came out there, and he still figured out ways to be successful. Some people like get onto one thing, Tommy Biffle, Denny Brower, pitching, flipping, things like that, and they don't evolve past that. So that's just something to kind of keep in mind there. Then again, he can afford to go for broke, hence yeah. No, like, and that's the thing too. Like, they're still good anglers. It's just like it's just the pay to play thing. Like, it really is 100% a pay to play thing. It's both. So example is Brandon Polinick. Brandon Polinick is a great example on the flip side of that, where he's just again like Brandon Polinick's probably like the 1%, 1% anglers. But he doesn't rely on one bait. He dinks and dunks. Aaron Martin was the same way, dinks and dunks. Like, they always are going to cash checks. Scott Martin, for the most part, is that way too. they don't really rely on one technique. They understand when to swing for the fence. They understand when to cash a check, and they've been doing it so long that they understand it. Like here's the dirty secret about being a professional angler. They go generally speaking, they go to the same bodies of water in the same time every freaking year. So they're not going to Kerr in the fall. They're generally going to Florida, January, February, Santa Cooper, April-ish, maybe a TVA system when they're on the ledge bites. They're going north between July and August. If you do that same rotation of the same six, they're going to the St. Lawrence every single year at the same time. You pick up on the patterns. Now, I'm not saying that automatically you're going to be great and you're going to win everything, but some of those seasonal patterns actually do play. And that's all I meant. Like again, you got this guy.
Hey, I can hear you a little bit.
All right, that's good. I'll just crank this up some. All right, there we go. So it might be my internet connection since we got a lot going on here. All right, so yeah, what are your thoughts
on which part? Bass, kayak fishing, KBF, KFL. Which topic? Which one are we talking about?
What's the drama going on with kayak fishing? Because I'm not in that as much as the college stuff and the bass stuff. So I see you posting. I can read between the lines a little bit. So you tell.
Yeah, I think it's a lot. I think it's very similar to Bass and MLF. I think it's a lot. If you talk to anyone who, like yourself, has worked their way up through the boater side, and run into those impediments and roadblocks, right? Financially, an alternative came along, 5 years ago, maybe more, but really realistically in the last 5 years, to where a lot of people looked at kayak bass fishing and looked at KBF originally. There were a bunch of other regional trails. I know you talked about having Chad Hoover on the podcast. And the expenses, the entry fees, all of those things. You can fish a lot more events regionally. I mean, if you look at like the 9 Bass Opens, right? If you're in Texas or Florida, you got to go to Lake Oneida. You got to go to the St. Lawrence River. You got to go in upstate New York. You're going to have to go. And the expense of that for someone that be required to fish 9 events is a tremendous amount of money without any real, let's face it, guarantee. What do you have to finish you've got to win, I guess, to go to the Classic. You've got to finish in the top 10 of 3 events, I think, really, realistically. And then you're fishing in Bass Opens against Mike Iaconelli, against like people that have been in the Elite Series, for years, want to work their way back, or sometimes you've got guys that are in these major series already fishing those events to make a check, right? Because of how expensive it is. And so I think kayak bass fishing, kayak bass fishing has become an alternative for some people that, reach that road, that impediment to where, look, man, it's financially not viable. I can't break through. I can't move past an open. I can't get to the next level, or I can't get beyond BFL and MLF to the Tackle Warehouse or the Toyota Series. And so a lot of guys have started to gravitate to fishing in kayak bass tournaments, which are a lot less expensive. Let's be honest. It's like KBF is $115 for each day. Hobie is $265. That's like a co-angler at the MLF. Okay, that's pretty inexpensive. To fish in a kayak bass fishing event with 200 anglers. The payouts clearly aren't near sponsors and all of that. But I think the payout is deeper in some of these competitions for kayak fishing as well. And then you have national championships and tournament of champions. So I think that's where kind of it is. If you're a boater like you and like me, who's kind of gravitate a little bit to tiptoe into kayak bass fishing, what you've found is a fragmented community. And that's their problem, is there's so much animosity between different trails like KBF and Hobie and Kayak Bass Nation and KFL. And it's like there's no unifying person. Like there's individual stars, but there's no unifying company like Bassmaster is. You know what I mean? Say whatever you want. I don't really like what Bassmaster's doing with the Opens myself. I think that hurts a lot of people. Some of the people that have been on your podcast, like Travis, I think that hurts people like that are great anglers regionally. But now you're making them go to 6 other places, right? That they've never fished before. They've got to travel. They've got to stay. And I just think that's a little over the top, but at the end of the day, I think they can get away with it.
Yeah,
because they're bad. I mean, let's be honest. Who doesn't want to go to the Bassmaster Classic? That's to hang over, hang over any angler go to the Bassmaster Classic. And now any angler really, if they're honest, right? I mean, my argument with Bass on 2 fronts has been, man, they keep changing everything, just like KBF. They keep changing things like so often. And then, like Bassmaster Kayak Series, there's a limited number of events, and they're almost never. Last year, I think there was one on the Upper Chesapeake, but there wasn't an event this year even remotely in the Mid-Atlantic, right? Or even the Northeast. Yeah. I don't even think there was one up in the Northeast this year.
So
you're kind of going, wait a second, like, what is this trend?
Well, let's compartmentalize this because there's a lot of information. There's like from the Bass side, we'll get the kayak side. Bass created MLF, and I think this is like always lost in it. The reason MLF is created, and let's just go down this thought process. The reason MLF was created is because the big sticks were so pissed at the way Bass was run, and that's how Bass created their own worst enemy because of what they did, and they didn't make adjustments. So let's just first part, let's understand and acknowledge that. So then we go back to what Bass is doing now. It's also nearsighted and doesn't understand that we're going into a recession. They're saying their analytics are up for people that fish the 9 events, which was on the news thread. But it's like, cool. But now that you've done it this way, I bet house money there's going to be a drop off in attendance for people signing up for next year, because all the people that can't do 9, guess what? They're not going to be there. Like, there's going to be a lot of guys that are going to dump out, and they're going to be going over to the MLF format for Toyota. I'm just saying, it's completely nearsighted on their part. Kayaking, my thought with that is,
who does that remind you of right now in sports?
Oh my God, I have too much
PGA.
In me. Oh, PGA, yeah,
right, yeah. Right, and what's happening in Saudi Arabia? If you don't take care of your players, if you don't take care of your anglers, and that's what it boils down to kayak fishing right now with payouts. If you owe somebody, you got to get them their check. There's different things that happen with organizations, but at the bottom line, you have to take care of your talent. You have to take care of your players. You have to make that commitment. And if you're not willing to make that commitment, those anglers are going to, like you said, they're going to look for the best option for them, because at the end of the day, they just want to fish. Yeah, so if you're telling someone they can fish regionally in the BFLs, which I think you've done, FLW, you've done, you're gonna fish the Piedmont, you're gonna fish the Shenandoah, you're gonna fish the Northeast BFLs, right? You're gonna stay closer to home, save money because of the economy. Your experience up in tournament fishing, but you're probably not gonna go to the Opens to have to go to 9 of them. You may go to 1 in your region, but you gotta have to accept that and be like, look, I'm not gonna make it to the next because I don't have, like you said earlier, I don't have the 40,000, the 60,000 in entry fees and everything built in yet. I haven't built that up. I think that's why when you were talking earlier on content, why it's so important. And I know we've talked about this via text and stuff. If you're a high school angler right now or a college angler, understand social media. you've got and you're in college and you walk down, look at what courses are available at your university, your college, even your community college. If you're just taking like a 3-credit class, you've got to make the commitment because that's where we're moving. It's like I said to you, I was at a roundtable discussion with 5 fishing content providers that all make more money than the national champion in the kayak bass fishing world in a year. And they don't fish tournaments.
I think this is a good thing. Yeah. I think this is a good point to bring up.
Ever have to fish a tournament to get a check.
The problem is because of
merchandise driven, affiliate driven. It's all that you talk about in terms of analytics, and sponsors are going to go to them and be like, you've got 50,000 followers on YouTube. You've got 25,000 TikTok followers. You've got 10,000 Instagram followers versus the tournament angler who just won a tournament, who has virtually no social media footprint and doesn't like to get on camera and talk. Right?
And honestly,
right? I mean, if you're the sponsor and you're the company and you're not endemic to fishing, you're going with people like you, people like me, people that do content for content reasons because we enjoy it and we're passionate about it. Whether or not we ever, of course, we want to win a tournament, but whether or not we ever win a tournament doesn't ever factor into what I do or what my friends that are content providers do that are far bigger, because it's content. Like I'm going to go fish in a tournament on the 23rd of July with a local club down in Southwest Virginia. It's for content, like we did in the last tournament we both entered, right? But it's not. That's the goal.
Scott, that's a good point. Why don't you tell everybody that's watching so they don't think you're just a crazy person? Like, you actually are on YouTube, right? Tell everybody at home that you're actually on YouTube. Because I know your connection is.
I've been on YouTube for years in a different niche. So I've been on YouTube for a while in a different niche that wasn't fishing. So when I cut my teeth on YouTube, it wasn't fishing. And so it was an entirely different niche, but it's all translatable. So, you know what I mean? When you run those analytics.
So guys, what he's basically saying is he's in the crypto market. He does have a channel. He understands YouTube. He understands social media. He's made money off of it. So he's not just a rando is what I'm trying to get at. So what he's saying, understanding, he's coming from the point of perspective, like he gets this shit. So just for everyone that's watching, that's kind of his back history, keeping it vague unless he wants to add more. Oh no. Oh no. I think we're losing him.
So if you're into content, you know, it's got to be genuine and authentic, right? You lose me?
Yeah, try to refresh it real quick. Refresh it real quick and come back in.
I think we're good.
Oh, good. Sweet. No, it has to be genuine. That's the thing I like about YouTube.
So you good?
It's very yeah, it's good. I think YouTube is very democratic, like compared to tournament fishing, where like you have to have a back purse. Anyone can become successful on YouTube, and good content. Good content will always shine through, no matter if you have like 3 subscribers or like, you know, 1 million. It's always going to like shine through, which is very important. And sorry, I wanted to ask this question for you, Scott. Yeah, if you want to hop back on, no problem. I think your connection went, but Joe, hop right back on. Device is not connected. Scott, it says your device is not connected. MPFL, I love that. Ashley, if you're still here, yeah, his lag was really bad. I really like the MPFL, Ashley. I think it's a really good idea. But here's the thing with the MPFL. It's still trying to cater to that 1%. I want to see a league that's really that bridge gap between college and then like the Toyota Series. That's 100% for that guy that's trying to make it. The thing that really jaded me to the BFLs when I started is when I saw Schmidt there fishing him. He's an elite guy. He's a pro guy. He's made his money. Why the hell is he at a BFL? And that's not his fault if they let him. That's the rules. But I think you need to have a BFL style that's just for the guy that's out of college that saved up enough money to fish the regional thing. And let's see if he's the best guy in the region, because he needs that paycheck. and I don't like the arguments like, well, you know, if he wants to try to do it, he eventually has to play against. I'm like, well, yeah, eventually. Let him sign up for the Toyota Series or the Bass Opens, but he still needs that bridge gap where he could still win some money that he might need. That trophy, that win of, let's say, a BFL is very important for sponsors. So I do think whether it's MLF or old FLW or Bass or whoever it is, you do need to structure a bridge gap between college and the pros. And then, you know, for the idea of like kayaking, where I think it is, from a guy looking in on it, I think kayaking is a few years back to where Bass was, where they're trying to figure out what they're trying to do. And they're still having this issue when it comes to like the technology issue and pay to play. I'm sorry, if you're in just a pedal thing or a row compared to a guy that's got 2 freaking Garmin's on there with live scope and a Torpedo, you literally have an advantage. So you are already starting down this path of what Bass and other organizations are dealing with, where it's pay to play in that sense, where, yeah, if you throw enough money into it, you're going to buy yourself a couple of spots. I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but I think if you are a organizational leader, you need to look at what Bass and FLW did wrong and then try to fix those mistakes before they happen. And they're not, especially when they're like creating these schedules. And it's like you're kind of falling victim to what Bass, FLW, and MLF are doing as well. Like, Scott, what do you think of those thoughts? If Scott can hear me. Oh, his lag is bad. I cannot hear him.
Yeah, I mean, I think you make valid points. I think that's a lot. Some of the criticism that you'll find in kayak bass fishing today. You know, can I hear me?
I can hear you now. Yeah, it's just like you talk and you're like a Muppet, and then eventually it comes through. But keep talking.
You good?
Yeah, just keep going. Just keep going. Don't worry about the lag. Just keep going.
No. Still can't hear me. It's raining, man. It's raining. It's going to be good for fishing on the Upper Potomac tomorrow. We're getting some rain. So I think that's the problem that you run into, like with some different personalities when you have discussions about kayak fishing, because I mean, in essence, you know, you've got regional trails, like they're called national trails, but if you have 8 events and 6 of the events are all pretty much in the southeast or the south, it's more or less a regional trail, right? So I think the only true national trail for kayak fishing, if you want to argue, is KBF, because KBF goes to California, goes to South Carolina, Virginia. I mean, they go, and they have one for the Northeast, which is great. That's more than a lot of a lot of boater events and a lot of stuff do, you know, in the Mid-Atlantic. It's just kind of tough for people who live here when you have a fishery like the James River that gets no kayak fishing tournaments. They're classic for like 4 years, right? It is a premier fishery with the Potomac, but the James River is a premier fishery. To the James River in 2023, like, because I mean, you know, and so that's, people look at that and people are kind of, you know, interested in like, okay, well, national, you know, what does that mean? And people will always criticize the number of registrations in an event, which I don't really think is the purpose, if you think about it.
No, and I think it really comes down a lot of those to optics too. Like,
don't understand the business.
No, and they don't understand the business side of things.
And that's definitely of, say, Bass and MLF and KBF, why they do what they do. Yeah.
No, I agree. And the issue is really with, like, MLF had this issue too, where they're doing these, if you guys don't know, with MLF, they have the split field. So you have 30 and 30. And so what's really cool about that in the TV show is they could go to different lakes that no one else could. Bass couldn't go to these lakes. They could go to these smaller lakes. North Carolina's a great example of that. I didn't even hear about that until they put it on the map. And they're like, no, we want to go to Toho like everyone else does. Like, okay, you can do that every now and then, but you have this cool niche where you can go to smaller bodies of water, which is kick ass, and rotate, and that's neat. kayak fishing, same thing is like when they're like, we want to go to Lake St. Clair like everyone else does. Well, you can, but why? When there's like 6 trillion other lakes in the United States, and there's a lot of good ones that I think that are better than some of these big lakes that no one talks about. You can go to those, but you choose not to. Why? Give me a good legitimate reason why. It's fine. But very few people in the kayak world and MLF can give me that reason of like, why don't you go to these smaller lakes that are banging? Because I know if you are a person on the outside of the sport not understanding it, you're asking like, why do we have this guy in a kayak in the middle of the ocean? That makes no sense. I do not want to do that. I know a bunch of people that didn't want to go to the tidal Potomac River in April because it's just nasty as hell. The 1%ers, they'll do that. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying from an optic standpoint, from a business standpoint, I don't think that's the best decision. I could be wrong. Tell me why they're making that decision to do that. That's what I don't understand. I'm talking purely business standpoint.
Here, just in my own experience last year with some things in the community in Maryland, and I'm sure it's like this everywhere. I mean, Maryland at Smallwood is always going to have MLF or Bass because the county there and the state are going to pay to have them there. If you're looking at KBF, why does KBF go to St. Clair versus some other place? The explanation is they have, if you go on every KBF event, I can speak about Potomac River. Stafford County does a great job of promoting and getting events. That's why Stafford County hosts KBF for the Potomac River. The Potomac River is massive, right? You got access points, Virginia and Maryland, all over that body of water. But Stafford is the HQ of that event because Stafford and the local tourism pay for KBF to be there. They sponsor the event for the KBF organization. Doesn't help. The anglers have nothing to do with that, right? It's just for the hosting the event. And so a lot of it, Bass is the same way. Why is the Bassmaster Classic where it is? Mm-hmm. It's usually a locality, a government, a state, or sponsors gearing up to where it is to host the event, right? I think KBF, from what I understand, is moving their national championship for now multiple years in Huntsville, Alabama, because it's got, 4 or 5 major lakes around Huntsville, Alabama. So they can pick a different lake, or they could have a national championship where they tell all the anglers you can fish on any body of water of these 5. Gunnersville, right? All of them. So, I mean, in Huntsville's, my understanding would be Huntsville's probably made a pretty good pitch for that.
Yeah, and again, I guess the biggest issue is they're basically doing the same issues that Bass, like they're making the same mistakes. Where it's like, congratulations, you're catering to Alabama, you're catering to these 1%ers. Like, and again, I'm not saying right or wrong, but it's like if I was in this, if I was king for a day and I was kayak, it's like, okay, this is what they did right, this is what they did wrong. Let's go out on a limb and try this. Let's have 2 events per year where we're not going because they pay us. Because from a filming standpoint, if we ever wanted to do that, which I know you're part of. By the way, guys, he actually works with, or if you're around, like this team kayak thing where they live stream. Really cool. Let's say that's part of the KBF in the future. I want to go to random lakes because I know the audience likes that. They like that shit. They like the new and trying to get anglers to figure that out. Audience loves that shit. I'm going to do that because my numbers are going to go through the roof. I love the classic example of this from an essay standpoint.
You said earlier, like who doesn't, I mean, I don't care. I will watch MLF live. I don't care where they're fishing, right? Bass live, if there's a bass, I'll be honest with you. I don't watch Bass. I think Bass should just leave Fox. I don't know what Fox pays them, but I don't watch Bass on TV anymore. Like most people, we're watching it on our phones and on our laptops or on our portable devices. And I'm not watching that, I'm watching live streams on my computer or on my phone. And I don't care where they're fishing. Like, I mean, because again, that's you're right there on the deck of somebody's boat, right? And a lot of times, a lot of these guys, I have no idea who they are. You know who the top people are, right? Okay, but occasionally you learn to find new people, like, because they've got a camera on what? You know, if you make it to the last day, which is sometimes Sunday, sometimes Saturday, I think, but like, you're going to have a camera in the, you know, NFL does that really well. But they've got issues like everybody else because it's service driven, you know. I think the mistake for KFL is allowing teams to schedule on bodies of water that the owners know there's no cell service on. That doesn't make any sense for the sport. Live stream is where
no, that makes 100%.
Live stream is the bread and butter of kayak fishing league. Like that's its thing. Take that away and it's just a fishing tournament, but with a team concept. It's the live stream that gets people juiced because they can just, it's awesome to watch. Guys freaking, yeah. And if your anglers aren't on live stream because they're having a catch on a lake.
Connection's getting a little bad there, so we're going to let
There's
your lag kind of catch up there.
Cell phone service.
I 100% agree with what you're saying.
That doesn't do the.
You have to have the ability to cover live stream. 100% get that. But I think the other issue, which you alluded to, I've alluded to, other people do, if you keep going to the same lakes for regardless, you also create these other issues you never think about. If I always go to the St. Lawrence and Lake Hartwell and a lake in Alabama, if you want to become a pro angler, you basically have to get really good at just a couple of lakes. The classic example of this is the James River. How many times when it was the old format, if you just had to fish to 3, as long as you're good at the James River, you automatically have one that you're going to dominate at, and you just got to figure out Lake Champlain or St. Lawrence. Boom, you're in the Elite Series. You're fine. I think that's an issue because it takes away from your ability to figure out places. They always go to Lake Hartwell. Last time I checked, there's like 4 other reservoirs on that chain that they never go to. I get the money standpoint, but you have to keep the sport pure. You have to be able to rotate around a little bit. Again, because otherwise, if it's just the same 3 lakes, you're catering again to the 1%. That gets back to the old thing. It's about paying and playing. Oh, did we just lose him? I think we just lost him. Wait, come on. Unmute the mic there. But what do you guys think? What do you guys think in the chat while I try to get Scott back? Because I think the software is just giving me fits. Oh, there he is. Is he still there? And guys, we're going to try to have Scott back on again when there's not an electrical storm going over his house. Because right now his face is moving, but his mouth is not making any noises. All right, try one more time.
Right. It's true.
Is he there? Is Scott there?
That's why I think.
So, guys, sadly, I'm going to have to let Scott go. Okay, is he still there? Okay.
I'm good. I'm still here.
There's a okay, good. There's like about a 5-minute delay.
Yeah, I don't know if you remember. Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, look. You try now? Should be good.
Can you hear me? Scott, I love you to death. I'm really sorry, but the lag is just really bad. God, that hurt. That hurt my soul to do that, but it was just so bad from a filmmaking standpoint. Guys, thank you in chat. I want to thank Roger and I want to thank Merritt for bringing it to my attention. Yeah, I know it was bad. I'm really sorry, Scott. We're gonna have to have you back on. That was getting really, really bad. We're gonna have Scott on the show at some point. I really want to hear his opinion. He's really big. He's based on the knowledge I'm allowed to say, I guess, like, he did have a YouTube channel. He's into crypto. He has a crypto YouTube channel that he makes money on. He's really into kayaking. So guys, to the chat, I really apologize for how nasty that got there. We tried so hard, but he brought up a lot of really good points, and he's extremely knowledgeable. He's a super, super smart dude. And I really hope once we get the connection better, it could be also on my end. I don't know. we'll try to get that dialed in as well. That way they have to go to, but yeah, like they have to adjust their skill sets and everything like that. I really think that's important. And then Shane, this delay is horrible. I know, lag is rough. Sorry, but the lag is killing me. Ashley, I want to give you a gift card or something for staying on through that lag. I deeply apologize for that. Shane, how do we develop an all-electric boat kayak national wide trail? That's coming. The national trail is 100% coming. It's getting there. Shane, like I don't know if Shane's still on here or not. It's gonna happen. The biggest thing I want for all these trails is a limitation on how much money you have. So example is, let's say if baseball's your example, let's say Little League. And maybe this will be the last thought experiment of the night. Last thought experiment. In Little League, you have a limit on the speed at which the ball can exit the bat, velocity-wise. Period in the story. Everyone can only have a bat where the baseball can exit the bat at, let's say, 80 miles an hour. What if, in the sport instead, companies could make baseball bats that could just go at any speed possible? The only thing is like how much you could afford. So if you'd like your son or daughter to hit the ball at 2,000 miles an hour off the baseball bat, you can buy a bat for that, but it costs a lot more. He's got to save up for it. And then all of a sudden you have the fishing community right now where it's not on equal footing, that people are actually hitting with different baseball bats that have different velocities, different exit velocities, if you will. And that's a big, big issue, I think. And so I'd like to see from the kayak or bass or electric boat, you need to set parameters to be like, this is the parameters that everyone must operate in, period, in the story. And from there, you know, I think you have a good foundation to have a really cool sport. So I fish a bare bones local kayak tourney, no electronics whatsoever, paddle only. Yeah, that's perfect. And then you can have a paddle or a pedal or electronic version. That's fine. And crappie fishing is a great example of that. Crappie fishing, I heard this on YouTube. I could be wrong, but they have certain circuits that are just for live scope or forward facing sonar. And then they have circuits that are for people that don't fish those types, that you can't have live scope on your boat, which is really cool. It limits the field. That's fine. And that way it really is like you and your peers going out there too. My thoughts on kayak fishing. No pedaling either. My God, your arms are got to be jacked as hell. Hobie, no motor, KBF. Yeah, Scott, yeah. Again, like I'm really sorry, Scott, for that not working out. I want to get you back on the show and hear your thoughts. I really, really do. Your lag got so bad to the point where it's like, it was like a 5-minute delay. So I was having a conversation with your ghost, basically. That leads into electronics going far too. Like, and again, it's like, so I'm not persecuting the companies. I think LiveScope is amazing. I think 360 is amazing. And if you want to fun fish with it, that's great. But it's the same thing as like, I think there should be a league specifically for that. And I think the Bassmasters, sure, that should have it. FLW, that should have it. That's fine. They're the 1%ers. That's fine. But it's the leagues below that where they need to have like a stepping stone of different leagues that you can pick. Like, oh, I only have a rowboat. Okay, I get to fish in the rowboat league with only other rowboaters, and I could like test my skill, and I can grow from there as I get more money or things change. I don't know why I made a rowboat league. That's so freaking weird. It's definitely tequila talking. I feel the same way, but if everybody else has it and you don't, you're setting yourself up for, yeah, it's an example. Like I stopped fishing because of that. The rain here means great bassing in the morning on the Upper Potomac. Dude, I wish I was with you. Instead I have to take an exam at 8 a.m. For my final class before my new job starts. So yeah, I really wish I could do that. Oh, and Scott, we're actually going fishing with a guiding service, which is I think Shallow Water River Adventures. That's gonna be a lot of fun. Can't wait to actually go on that fishing trip with you. No, I 100% with that. Oh goodness. But now I don't know. It's frustrating because I don't know what you can do about it. When it comes to content creation, yeah, I think my thoughts are pretty hard on that when it comes to content creators and stuff. And again, it's just value. I do think it's the most, generally speaking, it's the most capitalistic thing is doing this because good will shine through. Good content will shine through because it's about audience appeal. If people like you, period, in the story. It's not just about like pay to play, so to speak. Those are just my thoughts on that, though. And again, like you have to, like, example is like, John Creek Fishing Adventures, like, like, he's a really good dude. He's a business within himself. He didn't need people's help. And what I mean by that, like, he didn't need somebody to cut him $100,000 check for him to be able to do what he does. So that's just a thought there. Ashley, I'll be on the water at 8:30 in the morning. Too bad it's not a bass boat. Instead, it's a raft and some class 3-4 rapids. Ashley, where are you fishing? Are you part of the Eastern Tennessee River system? Is that where you're actually going out of? Or is it the new river? It's not the new river. I think you're a little bit further south than that. Because you're near Lake Cherokee, right? Something like that. No, Scott's right about that with like the Hobie, no motor, KBF Bass, motors allowed. And again, like I'm not against that. I just think like this is the communication that has to happen between the organization and the community. And dude, if somebody would just come out and be like from the Taco Bell kayaking club and said like, hey, listen, the reason we're doing this is because we're getting paid a shit ton of money from Torquedo to do this, and this is where our money is to be able to do this. Okay, cool. At least you told us. Like, okay, that makes sense. Fair enough. Yeah, just say that. That's fine. But then when it comes to the whole thing with bass or kayaking or whatever, it's like, why do they go to these lakes? Oh, because they pay them. Fine. But let's look at the ramifications for that. And that's the conversation that we were having with Scott there a minute ago. Let's say the Potomac River pays the organization to always come there. Great. It's a good fishery. But on the same token, what happens is if you get really, really, really good at fishing the Potomac, all of a sudden you have one event where you're going to cash a check or do better at. Now, let's say you do this for like 6 places where it's always the same 6, 7 places that you go to. And this is the thing they don't talk about. This is the thing they don't talk about is the reason that they do what they do is because a lot of the places pay them to go there. And because of that, you have the St. Lawrence every single time. You have Florida is like, of course, Florida, Lake Hartwell for the Classic, certain places for the Classic all the time, which gets annoying and repetitive. And I think it makes for boring television. And it also caters to like a fun fact is like why they always say, and I'm a little bit rambly here, so I apologize, where they're like, oh, listen, the reason it's always guys from Alabama. It's always guys from Alabama. But why? Why is it Alabama? Well, it's because all the big tournaments are in Alabama. That's one of the reasons. If the big tournament series never went to Alabama, I think there'd be a huge dip in the amount of good anglers. Among other reasons, too. A classic example of that is the driving distance for the big lakes. We talk about it all the time, but like with fishing the DMV, which is over here because I'm so dyslexic, we, out of a lot of, I think, compared to many communities, we have the longest driving distance between stops if you want to fish our tournament series. The Piedmont or Shenandoah division, you drive a shit ton to fish a local tournament event. A lot. Smith Mountain Lake, Kerr, Potomac River, James, that's a lot of distance to cover. If you're fishing the Alabama division, most of those places are within like 5 minutes of your house, depending on where you're at. If you're in the Florida division, 5 minutes of your house, depending on where you're at. Us, it's a lot of driving to get from one place to the other. And that does give us a distinct disadvantage. And I think that's an issue with the way that things are structured, where if it's all centrally Alabama, that's great. All you got to do is make it, and everything's going to be always held at your home place. I think that's also gives Alabama a huge advantage. A great example of this is I was fishing part of college FLW before they really went to tidal water. So we were part of the Northern Division. And so all the qualifiers, a lot of them weren't on tidal, but the regional to qualify for nationals was on tidal. So we'd have to go to Indian Lake, Smith, Lake Chautauqua, Lake Champlain, the St. Lawrence River. We had like 3 or 4 events all on bodies of water, rivers, whatever. But then all the regionals were always on tidal. It was always on the Potomac or the Upper Bay. That gave my brother and I a huge ass advantage. All we had to do is qualify and get to regionals, and then pretty much our regional ticket, as long as we didn't stub our toe, we are going to the national championship easily. It's easy. And that's the bottleneck I'm seeing with a lot of these other organizations, where if it's always held in Alabama for like the regional or the national championship, and people are like, it's crazy. All these guys from Alabama are always winning. It must be because like that's where all the talent is. That is one argument. Or the other argument is the fact that you always hold it as a home field advantage, and then you're shocked when a home field advantage actually helps the people that live there. Like, and I guess that's my issue with always having it in a Knoxville or in Alabama. Like, put the Classic in California. And then you'd be like, I don't know what happened here. It's like California anglers won it. Holy shit, who would have thought that? That's crazy. We put the thing in Canada, and you know what? A bunch of Canadian anglers won. That's crazy. Like, you look at the elites on like St. Clair. A lot of northern anglers there. It's crazy. Isn't that crazy? It's like, yeah, because it's their home water. So like, I don't like that whole argument of people saying, like, well, just because Alabama anglers are so much better. It's gaslighting. And I think that's what pisses me off so much about the industry is gaslighting. I hate the gaslighting of just like, let's be obvious here. Why is this happening? Okay, that makes sense. Like, peel back the layers, use some critical thinking skills, and you're like, it's not just about the anglers from this area are just so much better. They're very good, extremely good, some really good anglers. However, the sprinkling, like, did you get some home field advantage and stuff? They're not coming up here for national championship. If you're in Idaho and you're kick ass there and you always have to go to, Alabama to win, like, why do you think, and I'll probably leave you with this thought here. Why do you think so many pro anglers get up and move their families to Alabama, Tennessee? Why? There's a reason. And it's not because of, it's a better place to live. That could be one thing depending on where you're at, but that's not the primary reason. It's because 90% of the tournaments, they're within driving distance of. They're always there. Because of that, it breeds something. And it's just like, it's the secondary reason for things that happen. And if you don't look at the secondary reason, it doesn't make the primary reason as obvious, in my opinion. And I'll leave you with one other thing. This is part of outliers. So in my one of my businesses that I did, I do psychological evaluations for young athletes, strength and conditioning work too, making a psychological profile, how we can develop them and grow them from age like 8 to whatever. Do you know one of the biggest key indicators of young athletes being good? When their birthday lands compared to the sport they're playing. So if you are a younger 12-year-old because of where your birthday is for Little League, you're not going to have the same chances of being successful as if you are an older 12-year-old in that league because you're naturally older. It's something that's built in because of how the system is with ages and cutoffs. So that's a secondary reason for having a birthday the way it is. And the reason I bring that up there is with having it all in Alabama, it could be because of the money, but the secondary reason is you're promoting these anglers to be better. You're promoting this movement of talent and how things are structured just because you have this one decision. If you say that we're going to base Little League on ages and cutoffs that way, what'll also happen is the kids that'll be good at Little League or good at baseball are the ones that specifically hit around that birth date. So what you're doing is going to have a secondary effect that's going to have a ripple effect on the whole industry. You choosing only 6 lakes to go to will have a ripple effect. You saying that there's no electronic cutoffs is going to have a ripple effect. You saying that you have to fish all 9 events is going to have a ripple effect. And they don't tell about that, and they just gaslight us, which is not good. Just like I graduated older than everybody else because of my B days in October. I turned 18 at the beginning of my senior year. Yep. And it was the same thing with me. Baseball wise, I have a December birthday. And so it was very easy. I was a very old 12-year-old. And because of that, I always dominated when I was a 10, 11, and 12 because I was older among other ones. And so because of when they set up these birth dates, it dictates how good you will be at the sport. Same thing with hockey. They have great analytics on this when it comes to hockey players. When 80%, which percentage of hockey players in youth Pee Wee hockey will go to college and pros based on when their birthday is. They have the analytics down to a dime where they can tell which kids will actually go on to all-stars, high school, and college. And the first thing they take is their birthday. And the point is with fishing, it's becoming that way because of how they have it structured where like, okay, if you don't consistently fish one of the top 6 lakes that are always hit, you're not going to be a good professional angler. And that's the issue I have. If you fish 2 or 3 lakes in Alabama, you learn how to fish blueback, and you figure out smallmouth. If you do that, you're going to be a pro angler, period. You have what it takes. So learn how to fish the St. Lawrence River. Learn how to fish lakes in Alabama and blueback herring. If you do those 3 things, you're going to have a chance. Or you can flip it around and subtract it, learn how to fish Florida, really, really good, and learn how to fish St. Lawrence smallmouth. If you fish those two, it'll be fun. And you can tell that because like of how the organization is structured, how everything is structured there, it'll promote that. So I don't know. It's just something that really interesting. Actually, I was an absolute beast and older. Yeah, exactly. And that's my point. Like, just that's a secondary issue with that structuring system. Same thing with bass, same thing with FLW. If you have the structuring system, there's a ripple effect. If you only go to big water as a kayak angler, if you only go to the biggest lakes possible, there's a ripple effect of that. Yeah, you look cool against the bass guys, but there's a lot of people that are not going to actually go show up and try to do this because they don't want to be a part of that. But understand those ripple effects and don't be gaslighting people when you do that. Our brains work differently than older people of our age. Yeah, 100%. Again, for right or wrong, I'm just telling you what the analytics say. The analytics say based on when your birthday is, you're going to be successful at this. Based on where you live in the country and what lakes you fish, it'll dictate if you're successful, period, end of story. If you get really good at Lake Gunnersville, as an example, you're going to do well because so many big terms are at Lake Gunnersville. If you get really good at the Potomac River, it'll help you. You could be up, and this is possible. I truly think this. You could be really good at the James River. If you get good at the James River, you have a chance at the Bass Opens because all you need to do is crack a good one there and get lucky with the Opens. And you'd be like, well, Tom, aren't you proving the point for nine? No, I'm not, because like I think like if you are good at those few, that translates to bass. It just does. I'm sorry, it flat out does. There are so many people like Seth Fighter and these other people that are good at, like, they can fish smallmouth and they got good at grass and they figured it out and they were fine. They didn't go to Table Rock. Like, you only have to figure out, I think, 50% of the game. If you figure out 50% of the game, I think you can actually make a living at it. But let me know what you guys think in the comment sections. It is now 11:08. I have a test I have to take at 7 a.m. in the morning tomorrow night, and I drink a little bit of tequila, but all the software works, which is fantastic. The new software updates work good. The audio sounds extremely well, and the super chat function works. So now we have super chats, which is pretty awesome. Data is data. It doesn't lie. I refuse to suck. Therefore, I will obsess with something until I succeed. Exactly. And I would like to shout out to all the people that struggle out there and work their butts off. Huge shout out to coffee and Adderall that make us better than what we are. Have a good night, everyone. I appreciate all of you. Thank you so much, Ashley. I appreciate it. And guys, be safe out on the water tomorrow. And I pray for all of you that you have extreme fun out there and you guys all win your tournaments. And, as always, I will see you next time on Fishing the DMV. I'm Thomas Aarons. Cheers.
You're listening to Fishing the DMV with your hosts, Thomas Aarons and Jared Mounts. Fishing the DMV is brought to you by Jake's Bait and Tackle, located in Winchester, Virginia.
If that doesn't get you jacked up, I don't know what will.